Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. It's a new format for the show starting from here on out as we have basketball joining us for the first time this week, and we'll have them from here on out till about March. Joining me first for our women's basketball segment is our women's head coach, Dr. Britta Belanger. I told you I'd mess it up before we started, but I got it there. Coach, thanks for joining us, and it's been a good start to the season so far.
Thank you. We're off to a good start, 3-1. I think that's a really good start for the season. I told my group the past probably 4 or 5 seasons of my career, I've started in a tournament, and we've played a really good team out of Texas in Kilgore or Panola, and they've been nationally ranked, and we started with a loss. So it's really nice to start the season 3-1 and be able to start with 2 or 3 wins in a row to start this season.
And you just mentioned it. You went on the road for the first couple. You got a couple of really good wins there, especially for the opener. You went over to Holmes. Figures to always be a really good challenge. It's going to be a really good team. They're always in the hunt for postseason as well too. Went over there, got a 68-66 win, a game that was really kind of back and forth. I know they had a big lead. Y'all had a big lead. Both teams were able to kind of erase those, and then you were able to kind of hold on there at the end. It kind of got a little shaky there at the end, but you're able to hold on and get a big win there on the road. And then you went over to Phillips in the University of Arkansas system and beat them 97-57. This was a game where I told you, I think y'all did something I've never seen a basketball team do before. You outscored them 18-0 in the first quarter. Don't clean your ears out, folks. I did say 0 was on the home side of that scoreboard. Talk about those 2 road wins and just how big they were to set the tone for the season.
Yeah, I thought the Holmes win was a really good win for us, and I do feel like we kind of held on at the end. They got a big lead, then we got a big lead, and we kind of let it go. And there at the end, it ended up being a 3 or 4 point game, but really we were up about 6 or 8 with a minute to go, and we did some silly things that you do early in basketball seasons when you don't know how to finish games yet. Thankfully, we were able to finish the game out and get a win. They're a good team. I don't know that they'll be the top 1 or 2 team in our league, number 1 or 2 team in our league, but they will be right there in the middle of the pack. And so to be able to go on the road and get that win is a really, really good win, especially to start the season. So we have that one on Saturday, and it's a feel-good win, and we get a win to start the season. And then we go to Phillips, and I had seen them in a scrimmage, and I was really impressed with them. I thought we were going to have a much more difficult time up there than we did, and we came out and we were just really good to start the game. And I kept telling our group, nobody shoots as bad as they did the whole game, and they just shot really, really poorly. 18-0. It's very hard to do that, and it wasn't like we were playing that great. They just couldn't buy a shot. They made runs, and we responded every time they made a run, and I was really proud of that. I was really proud of the fact that we didn't really have to press or anything like that to do this because we rebounded the ball so well. We got so many extra shot opportunities in that game. So again, that was a 4 or 5 hour trip for us, very long, but a really good win and a really good way to prepare ourselves for conference play, because when we get into conference play, we have to go to Northeast, to Itawamba. We're going to have to get used to winning on the road after long bus rides, and I think that's a good one early in the season to prepare us for that.
I think I told you after the Phillips game we talked, I said, you're averaging 60 rebounds a contest. You had 51 against Holmes. You had 69 against Phillips. You had a couple players with double-doubles against Phillips, with Imani Key having 21 and 10. Cam Pruitt had 17 and 10. Zion Nelson barely missed a double-double. She had 9 and 12. And in the Holmes game, you had some of those same people again. Zion Nelson had 15. Right. Akilah Hobson, who's a new player for us, had 20. Cam Pruitt had 11. Cam had a very good week. Amari Barnes had 10. So I think that's going to be a common theme for folks this whole year. If you're watching, it's going to be some of those names you're going to hear a lot, but you're going to hear names throughout this entire roster who are going to produce and help lead throughout the whole season.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strengths of this team is that we have multiple people who can score in double digits. Imani Key at Holmes did not have a great game at all. She got in foul trouble. She didn't get to play a lot of minutes. She just got ticky-tack fouls, and then she comes back at Phillips and goes for a double-double because she's a really good player, and that's what good teams do. They have one person like Akilah Hobson who scored 23 against Holmes, and then she played well against Phillips, but she didn't score all of our points, and I think that's a big thing. Consistency. Cam Pruitt was very consistent. Zion Nelson very consistent. We need that consistency every night, especially in the post. You talk about the rebounding numbers, and the Phillips game strewed those a little bit and made us look like we were rebounding monsters. we have been rebounding the ball pretty well up until against BRCC last Monday night. And that's been a focus for us this season. Last year, we were smaller than everyone. We're not anymore. We've got to out-rebound people, and we can't turn the ball over. Those have been the two things that we've talked about every pregame, every time we've gone out there is we can't turn the ball over and we've got to dominate the glass. And I think that's why we've been really successful in these first 3 or 4 games.
And so you started the season with a couple on the road. Now you've played a couple at home since the season has started. You had a big win for your home opener against East Central, 51-44. You just mentioned it, though. You dropped your game on Monday against Baton Rouge, a game that was very close, had some opportunities late in that one. You dropped that one to Baton Rouge. 57-53. So right now you're sitting at 3-1, and you look at those East Central numbers. You had, I believe, 42 rebounds in that one, 36 against Baton Rouge. So as you mentioned, it didn't rebound as well. Lowest number against Baton Rouge. Still a pretty good. You feel like it was a pretty good performance. One person that really stuck out to me in the East Central game was someone we didn't talk about a lot last year, Tyra Johnson. She's a sophomore who come back for you. The reason she sticks out, 10 rebounds. She only had 4 points, but she was a monster on the glass for you in a game where Cam Pruitt flirted with a double-double, had 9 and 8. She didn't have her best game in that one, right. And Tyra really stepped up and picked up that slack for you there.
Yeah, Tyra Johnson is a kid I kind of call our silent assassin because she very rarely says a whole lot. She's a very quiet personality, but on the floor, she talks all the time. She knows where everyone's supposed to be. She makes sure everybody gets there, and she does. Rebounding and defense, those are the two things that she really brings to us. She's not going to score a whole lot of points every night. She's not necessarily going to be a double-digit scorer. And if she can get double digits, that's awesome. That contributes a lot. But we need her to continue to rebound and be a force defensively on the inside. And she has done that. She was also really good in the Baton Rouge game defensively. And she scored some in that game too. But she's been really good for us. The East Central game was a peculiar one. We go in at the half down 9. Mm-hmm. We had not played very well. In the first half, I thought we took really bad shots. I thought we took a lot of questionable shots that led to long rebounds, that led to transition opportunities for them. And so we go in the half down 9, and I was very curious to see how we came out and responded, and we really responded well in that second half, and we kind of put the gas on and didn't let up in that one. So, again, very good team, very good home win against a much improved team. East Central was very weak last year. She got the job late, kind of had to coach with what she had. And they're a much improved team. I think they'll get better as the season progresses. Their post players are really good, and they've got a guard who just came back from soccer. So again, I think they're a team that we're going to see running right there in the middle of that pack, trying to get to the top, trying to get to those 1 and 2 seeds in conference.
Yeah. And you and I were talking the Baton Rouge game. It kind of felt like the Lady Wolves kind of beat ourselves in that game. We were 5 of 30 from 3. We really kind of played into their hand on that. And I told you, I said a lot of those missed threes weren't necessarily bad shots. Maybe some of them were too early in the shot clock. Maybe, again, it played into their hand. And, if 2 or 3 of those fall, we're not even talking. We're talking about a Lady Wolves win. If you make half the ones that you miss, you win this one pretty handedly. But you did have a couple of double-digit scores in this one. And Monty Key had 18. Madison Mitchell had 10. Madison Mitchell probably had the most exciting 3 of the whole game. She floated one, and I say floated because it really did float in the air at the end of the third quarter, and that tied it at 43-43 at that point. The gym was really excited about that one. Cam Pruitt had a monster night on the boards, 12 rebounds, only 4 points, but again, she really went out there and defended the boards well for you. Yeah,
Cam Pruitt is very consistent. We can always expect that from her. I thought Maddie Mitchell may have had the best game of her career, scoring-wise and just leading our team and being our point guard. We've had a lot of injuries. Kylan Bell has got an injury, and I don't know if or when she'll be back. So Maddie Mitchell's number is going to be called, and she's going to have to step up. That was one of those shots that as a coach, when she got the rebound and threw it up, I said, that shot's going in. It just, I don't know, karma sometimes, and the basketball gods, if you believe in that shot goes in just about every time. And we needed it. We needed that momentum swing to give us the energy in the fourth quarter to kind of keep pushing and moving forward, and it was a big thing. You talk about the three-point shooting number, and I was disappointed in that. I felt like we settled for too many threes. I didn't think we took bad threes. I thought we took some early threes in the shot clock, and I thought we took some bad threes late when the shot clock got low. But the number that I was even more disappointed in was the 10 for 18 from the free throw line. That's about 56%. We need to be shooting around 75% from the free throw line, and if we're not, then we're going to have trouble being successful. So if we shoot 15 for 18 or 14 for 18, it's a totally different ballgame. It ended up being a 4-point ballgame. We had, in the last minute of the game, we had 2 layups. Tyra Johnson has a layup. Cam Pruitt has a layup. in the paint type shot. They both missed. Then with 26 seconds, we call timeout. I draw something up, and it was not the best play I've ever drawn up, but we got 2 wide open threes with Zion Nelson and Amari Barnes, who are 2 of our best 3-point shooters, and we just couldn't close the deal. I don't know that I could have asked for any better opportunities late in the game, but we've got to close the deal. And that's what you see early in the season. You're not quite there yet. And that's why you play these early preseason games so you can get there when you get to conference play. Baton Rouge, I knew was going to be a scary team coming in because they were 0-4. They were hungry for a win, and they were not an 0-4 team. They had played really good competition. They played Jones. They played Gulf Coast. They've played teams in our league that are really good teams. And so I knew that would be a challenge for us. I'm glad it was a challenge early. I'm glad we responded the way we did. I think the next time when we go down there, we've got a really good shot to beat them.
Yeah. And, I'll say one more thing about Maddie's shot. You and I kind of have the same viewpoint. I thought when she let that one go, I said, man, that shot's pretty. And then it went in. I said, okay, that was really nice. That was a nice moment, a lot of fun moment right there. But now we're going to turn the page. We're going to flip ahead. We're going to do something that I know you don't normally like to do. We're going to look a little bit further ahead than what we normally would. You'll have 3 before we get to talk again. But coming up, this first one will be this Thursday. South Ark coming to Mullen. This is a home and home series we've had for the last 2 or 3 years. It's a team that's usually very competitive. They can shoot the ball really well. I know they're struggling a little bit right now. I know they've just had their first game recently. What do we know about the Stars coming into this one on Thursday?
Yeah, South Arkansas is a team that's been struggling a little bit with numbers and stuff because on their roster because they've had some injuries, and we understand that all too well because we've had a lot of injuries. There's been a couple of days in practice where we've had 9. We've had to bring our guys practice squad in to be able to have 10 and be able to really have a full practice. So we understand that very well. They played their first game last night against Southern Shreveport. It was pretty close. Southern Shreveport was able to beat them. I think they'll shoot it well. They've got one post kid that's really, really athletic. I think we'll have to play well. I think we won't be able to shoot 10 for 18 from the free throw line, and we won't be able to go 16% from the 3-point line. If we do that, I think we'll have our hands full and be in trouble. I like that they're coming to us. I like that we had 2 road games, and now we've had 3 road games back to back. So I really do like that because in previous seasons, I felt like we were on the road all the time and we were never at home and our fans didn't get to see us. So I'm excited about having this one at home and being able to just, continue to grow and continue to improve.
Right. And then that'll close out this week. And then next week, you'll be on the road, but it'll be a neutral site. You're going to go over to your old stomping grounds over at Southwest Mississippi Community College, and you'll play a couple of games over there. You've been doing this for a while now. We did this when even Coach Young was here as well, too. So you're going to play LSU Eunice on Monday, November 17th, and then Southern Shreveport on Tuesday, November 18th. Both of those at 1 p.m. Tease for the guys' games. They'll be playing right after y'all at 3 p.m. both days. We're going to talk to Coach Bolden about those as well, too. Looking forward to having both of our teams over there for the first time, I think, ever since I've been here. So, but what do we know first about the Lady Bengals of LSU Eunice, and then, of course, the Jaguars of Southern Shreveport for those 2 games?
Yeah, we've been going to Southwest Coca-Cola Classic for a long time. It will be a neutral floor game for our kids, but for me, it'll be more like a home game because I'm so used to, coaching there. I spent so much time there. I don't like to look ahead, but in getting film, you have to look ahead. I have to start preparing. Okay, who am I going to get this film from? Who am I going to get that film from? So I got some film on LSU Eunice from Delta. They're averaging almost 89, 90 points a game. So they're pressing a lot, which is going to cause us problems because we like to turn it over. So that game is something we're going to have to prepare for, and we are not going to be able to turn the ball over. I think if we can limit turnovers and break their press, if we can beat their pressure, then I think we'll be fine. But they usually press for 4 quarters, and pressure for 4 quarters can be difficult. The only thing I know about Southern Shreveport is what I watched last night when I was scouting South Arkansas. They've got 1 or 2 players who really shoot it well and who can really put it on the floor and play. So I'm not going to look ahead to that one too much. I'm going to, let's win Thursday night. And then I'll put all my energy into LSU Eunice. And then once we beat Eunice, we'll move on to Southern Shreveport. We'll get a chance to watch Southern Shreveport play Southwest on Monday. So I also have some film from earlier in the year on Southern Shreveport. So we've got stuff. Coach Thompson and I will go through and divide and conquer on that. But we'll also be able to watch them play Southwest and let Southwest give us a little bit of a scouting report. I think I worked with the coach there long enough that he can share some insight and some wisdom against Southern Shreveport. So
he might do you a favor.
He might, he might owe me a favor too. So I did not know our men were playing behind us until Cynthia in transportation said, Coach, how are y'all getting there? You know, are y'all taking separate buses or whatever? I was not aware that they were playing, but it is nice to have both of us there in their classic. For many years, Southwest men and women, Co-Lin men and women always were the two home teams playing opposite of each other, and then they would bring in two other teams. And then for a while, they kind of got away from Co-Lin's men, kind of got away from coming to it. So now we're kind of back going to it, and that's really nice. It only makes sense for us to go there and play. It's a 30-minute drive down the road. You know, in the future, I would probably like to play Southwest home and home. I'm not there yet because I spent too much time there, you know, and there are too many kids there that I recruited or that I knew. We need some distance and some separation in that. But looking forward in the future, I think Britt and I would both like to go home and home because it's 30 minutes. It's a money game. You know, we make a good gate, we make a good concession, and it's just a positive for both of our programs.
So lots of good things happening for the Lady Wolves. Off to a red hot start, 3-1. Dropped the most recent one, 57-53. Looking to bounce back this upcoming Thursday, 5:30 tip-off between the Stars of South Ark and the Lady Wolves, and they'll be on the road at Southwest for neutral site games against LSU, Eunice, Southern Shreveport, 1 p.m. tip-off times on Monday and Tuesday, respectively, for those. Coach, thanks for joining us. Look forward to talking to you next week. Obviously, we'll do one more, and then we'll have a Thanksgiving break. So we'll have a couple with you before we have a little bit of a break, but looking forward to it. Stick with us through the break. We've got men's basketball and football on the horizon after this. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And as promised, joining me is our new men's head basketball coach, Randy Bolden. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
And officially welcome for the first time to the Coaches Show, and a new experience for all of us. But, Coach, you know, you've gotten off to a really good start. You're 3-2 overall, won a couple, lost a couple, then had a little bit of an upset win over that. I don't know that people really would have picked Co-Lin to win that one, maybe, and for that one to be the way it was. We'll talk about that Shelton State game a little bit more, but your thoughts overall on how well your team has gotten off to this 3-2 start?
Well, I think when we were putting the schedule together, having a young team, we wanted to try to schedule some home games up in the beginning of the season so we can give our guys a bit of a comfort zone and get them comfortable playing at home before we went on the road. And I think within these 5 games, I thought our guys have competed hard. We have some turnover issues we got to address, but we're getting there. We're getting better game by game, and I really like where we are at this point.
Yeah, you started off the season with a game on Halloween. You played William Carey JV. You beat them 100-43. The score says all we need to say right there. We're not going to linger on that one. I think that one, as a head coach, the best thing for that one is A, you got to play everybody. B, everybody but one person that played got some points in that one. And the one guy who didn't score had several shots, had some really good looks. It just didn't fall for him. But overall, I think as a coach, that's kind of how you want to start the season.
Well, yeah, we want to start it off, again, like I say, with young guys. You want to get them to feeling good about themselves, confident, and I thought that game kind of gave guys confidence going into the rest of the season. So, and I thought guys made shots. We shared the ball and got off to a good start.
Yeah, you had 5 guys in double digits in that one, guys that we're going to talk a lot about throughout the year, including Tyrell Bowles, who nearly missed a double-double, had 10 and 9. Mustafa Salik had 15. Tristan Lucas led the way with 20. Dylan Craigett had 17. Caleb Crozier with 11. All these guys making their debuts, stellar debuts. But then you got into kind of a little more of the meat of the schedule. You played on Monday, November 3rd. You played a team in Gadsden State. You had to kind of overcome a little bit of difficulty. They were late getting here, didn't get here till 6. The game was supposed to start at 6. We tipped off a little bit late. They had a little bit of an abbreviated warm-up, and you and I have kind of talked about it. They said when they got their legs warm, you could really tell, and they really started shooting the ball. But your guys overcome this one. You won it 88-87, really pulled it out there at the end, played some really strong defense. Yeah, had a couple of things there at the end. You got called for a turnover. You and I both said, they could have called us for a foul on that last second heave. They didn't, but it was a very solid win for your guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gadsden State, a really good ball club. I mean, I think they got size. They have really good guard play. They got great inside presence. And for us to compete and have a chance to win it at the end like we did, I mean, that speaks volume of our guys. I thought we we executed down the stretch enough to win the ball game, and like I said, we had some late turnovers there that I think that kind of put the game in jeopardy, but we were able to overcome.
Yeah. Tristan Lucas led the way with 21. LeBron Deal had a very big game. That's a kid that I know we're going to talk a lot about him. We're really going to depend on him throughout the year. 20 for him. Tyrell Bowles with his first official double-double had 15 and 10. He ran that streak through. You went over, hosted East Central. This was the first loss, and I think you would say this has probably been the best team that y'all played so far, and they really made you pay for the turnovers and mistakes that you had throughout this one.
Absolutely, and during the course of that game, I think they may have been up double figures at halftime, and again, they were aggressive. They shot the ball well, and give our kids credit. In the second half, we overcame 11, 12-point lead, and we actually took the lead maybe 3 or 4 late in the ball game. But again, the turnover woes got to us, and you're going to expect those, and I expect those early on in the season when you got 2 freshmen playing handling the ball majority of the time for us, and that comes with the territory, and they're getting better game by game.
Yeah, you were down 40-27 at half. So like you mentioned, overcame that 13-point deficit, had a lead. You actually outscored them 35-33 in the second half. So if you'd have played the first half a little bit closer to what you played in that second half, Mike could have squeaked out a win there as well too. But you look at the scoring in this one. LeBron Deal led the way again. We talked about LeBron and how much you're relying on him and how much he's starting to step up to the plate. You can see it starting to slow down for him a little bit. 19 points for him. Tyrell had 16 and 12, and Dylan Craig with 12. Those were your 3 guys there. And then you played the next day. You played on a back-to-back. You played Delgado, and this was a game where it just kind of felt like maybe our guys were a little bit tired from the night before. It never really felt like this was a game where we cut it down to 4 late in the game, but we never could get it under 4 or anything like that. It just that night Delgado was just a little bit better than our guys.
Oh, absolutely, and I credit that to bad coaching scheduling. But again, we try to, when we're doing our schedule, we try to emulate some of the playoffs. We anticipate being in the playoffs, and you got to win back-to-backs. And we wanted to put our guys in a situation where we got to play back-to-back so they can have a feel of what it's like. And during that game, I think we got a little tired down the stretch, but we still had a chance to win. I think if we execute a little better down the stretch, I think we win that ball game.
You look at the scoring numbers. Dylan Craig had 17. Tristan Lucas had 11. Tyrell Bowles was the big leader in this one, had 26. I think he led everybody with 26 and nearly missed a double-double with 9 rebounds. That's going to be a theme for Tyrell. I feel like he's either going to get it or he's going to miss it by 1 rebound. But, he had a very spectacular game, played a lot of minutes after playing a lot of minutes the night before. And then this past Monday, this is the one that I think, this is the one that kind of feels like a little bit of a lanyard. This was one you were worried about it. When I talked to you, we were both worried about it because Shelton State came in this one, average margin of victory of like 20 points. They're dropping 80 points per game, and you beat them 61-54. They scored 27 points in both halves. Just a great defensive performance from your guys. Offensively, I think maybe you'd like to shoot a little bit better than 44%, but that's still a great night. But your thoughts overall on how the guys were able to go and get that win?
Well, like you said, we didn't shoot it particularly great that night, but when you're not shooting well, you got to have a defensive stand, and I thought our defense was outstanding. I think that kept us in the game, and I think it kept Shelton off their rhythm, and I thought we rebounded it well. Not only are they beating opponents by 20, they're out rebounding opponents by 15 points and 15 rebounds. So I thought we rebounded the ball well. I thought we guarded them well, and I think that was our best way around the game of the season so far.
You look at the scoring, 16 from Dylan Craig, another double-double from Tyrell Bowles. For those of you at home who might be keeping up with it, I've said double-double and Tyrell Bowles 3 times. They played 5 games. The other 2, he had 9 rebounds. So again, he's either getting it or he's missing it by 1 rebound. The big scoring leader in this one was Coy Williams, and Coy missed the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game because he fouled out. But this was kind of, Coy's a guy who came with you from MC. He knows the system that you want to run, and you've kind of been waiting all year for him to kind of have a game like this, and he finally had it, and he's really showing people what he can do.
Well, it's like you said, Coy is a guy that we're depending on coming in. We brought him here. He's with me at Mississippi College, and I knew that, Coy's an outstanding player. He's smart. He's our quarterback. He knows how to get us in our offense, get the ball where it needs to go, and the way he played the other night, that's what we expect from Corey every night. He can facilitate, he can score when need be, and just make people around him better.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really going to stand out to folks about this team is they can win multiple styles of games as well too. The Shelton State game, we mentioned defensive battle. The Gadsden State game, complete opposite, offensive battle. I tell people, I say Gadsden State shot 45% from the field and nearly 45% from three, and lost that game because we shot almost 55% from the field and 50% from three. So it's, I think as a coach, you'd like to be able to see that your team can win either style of game.
Well, versatility is important in basketball. You got to, like you said, you got to be able to win both ways, and we're gonna hang our hats on the defensive end, but we got to score the ball and nights, and the ball it's not gonna fall every night, but we got to be able to have a defensive presence where we can force teams into tough shots and force turnovers, and that converts into easy baskets for us. And I think we're starting to develop that versatility, and again we're just trying to get better game by game, and guys trying to extend our bench and getting guys to play more and be more efficient, and it's coming each night, each day. I think we're getting better.
Yeah, and I think if we've shown the card, that card shows how special a guy like Tyrell Bowles is going to be. This is an out-of-stater that I think at the end of the day, I think people are going to say, you hit on this one. He's averaging 17 and 10 right now, but the more impressive thing to me is he's shooting almost 72% from the floor. You don't see 6'9" guys who, and that's not just under the hoop stuff. He's got a really nice jump shot. He's a very versatile player for you.
Yep, Tyrell is special. He's a special player. He can defend. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, he's scoring the ball well, but he's our anchor underneath. I mean, he alters a lot of shots, blocks a lot of shots, and offensively, we go to him a lot, and he's responded. And you're talking about I call him my big baby. I mean, he just turned 18, and not only that, Tyrell, he competes every day in practice. He's one of our hardest workers in practice as well, and it kind of, you can see that in the game. It equates to the game, and the sky's the limit for Tyrell. Like I say, he's a worker.
Yeah, and I tell people, you get a chance to come watch this team play. Strap in. You might feel like you're on a roller coaster that you didn't know you signed up for, but they're a lot of fun to watch, and we certainly enjoyed having them at home for their first 5. But now, as we preview some of your upcoming matches, you're gonna play 3 before we get to talk to you again. You get your first true road game this upcoming Friday. You're gonna go over to Bevel State on Friday at 6 p.m. tip-off there. What do we know about that bunch going over there?
Well, they're an athletic bunch. They play hard. They're going to pressure us from baseline to baseline. It's going to be a really good test for our guards to make sure we're able to handle pressure. And, when you go on the road, you got to take care of the basketball. You got to win the rebounding battle. So we're young, and I think playing these games, 5 games at home, I think is kind of giving us some confidence to go on the road, and it's going to be a good test for us going forward.
Yeah, and then next week, we kind of teased this when we were talking with Coach Stevens. You've got 2 more road games. They're not. I wouldn't say they're true road games because we're going 30 minutes down the road. Something I'm excited about because as I talked with her, the guys have not gone down and played at Southwest in the last few years. But you're going to play there, and not only are you going to play there, you're going to play back to back. Y'all, the girls will play at 1. Y'all will play at 3. You've got Baton Rouge on Monday. You've got Southern Shreveport on Tuesday. If I'm not mistaken, I think the girls are playing Southern Shreveport as well too.
Absolutely.
So a Southern Shreveport Co-Lin doubleheader at Southwest. I don't know how that billing worked out, but we'll take it. What do we know about those 2 groups going into those 2 games on Monday and Tuesday?
One, they're well coached. Both teams are well coached, and they play hard. They're going to play from the time that ball goes up to the horn sound. They're going to pressure you. They're going to play fast. They like to play in transition, both teams, and they love the 3-point shot. So we got to guard the 3. We got to make sure we defend it and rebound the basketball, and just kind of play to our tempo. And I think if we can control tempo and take care of the turnover, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. So again, lots of good things happening for the guys, Coach. It's been fun to talk to you about this one. We look forward to talking to you next week. We'll do that one, and then of course we'll take a Thanksgiving break as well too. And we won't have one when we have that one, but we'll get to talk to you one more time before we have that break. So guys are off to a very hot start. Again, I encourage you, if you get a chance to come out and watch the Wolves play, it's a lot of fun. They're a lot of group. They're a young group. They're growing up on the court, but they're a lot of fun to play. Off to a 3-2 start. Most recent win coming against Shelton State 61-54. They're on the road for the next For the next little while. We're not back at home again until December 8th, but we'll talk about plenty before then. But on the road on November 14th at Bevel State, 6 p.m. tip-off. On the road at Southwest on Monday and Tuesday, 3 p.m. for both of those. Baton Rouge on Monday, Southern Shreveport on Tuesday. We'll give you all the information on social media as we have it available. Stick with us through the break. We've got football playoffs to talk about after this with Coach Davis coming up.
When you give to the Co-Lin Foundation, your support directly benefits Co-Lin students, faculty, and staff. Whether it's by providing scholarships for students, professional development opportunities for faculty and staff, or technology and campus upgrades, we need your support. Giving to Co-Lin offers the best value for your money as a donor. With low administrative spending and overhead, we can use your donations in tangible ways that benefit students right now. Join us as we back the pack by giving today.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break, and joining me for our final segment of this week's show is our head football coach, Micah Davis. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And Coach, obviously we've got to talk about something we haven't talked about in a long time, and that's a loss by your guys. A close one, a heartbreaking loss, 28-27 against the Rangers in the MACCC semifinal. Your thoughts overall, just first on that game and just how everything went for your guys.
I mean, overall, all year, I think our guys played really well. They answered the call to everything we asked them to do, and they put everything on the line, and that's what they did. So.
Yeah, you look at this one, and this game really lived up to the billing. It was a top 5 matchup. It was everything we expected. They brought their best, we gave our best, those kind of things. And when you look at it, it really just came down to a few little things that just didn't bounce our way in this one.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it didn't, and I feel for our guys, but they battled all game, and they did, like I said, they did what we asked them to do.
Yeah, and you look at this one, we talk about those impact players. The first one is Jalen Petway. Jalen was 16 of 28 for 244, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Eli Vineyard came in, had a couple of passes for 13 yards. Eli also had a touchdown rush as well, too. Your thoughts overall on your quarterback play for that game?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen took some some licks, and Eli was able to come in and make a play for us on a couple of drives, and Jalen was able to come back in and made 2 big touchdown throws there in the second half. So overall, I thought they both played really well.
And then in the rushing game, we've said his name a lot, Martavius Boswell. He led the way in what might be his final game in a Wolves uniform. 113 yards on 14 carries and a touchdown. Hit his average per carry of 8.1 as well, too. So just another typical game out of Martavius.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 guys, him and Dez and Jaquan, they all played really well this week, and they did everything we asked them to do.
Yeah, and in the receiving game, you had a couple of guys step up. One that we've talked a lot about, one that we haven't really talked a lot about. The one that we haven't really talked a lot about is Jordan Richardson. He had 4 receptions for 78 yards, led you in yardage. Your leading receiver in terms of catches was Jamar J. Bell. Jamar J's a kid that we've talked a lot about. He's got a lot of all-purpose yards. He had 5 receptions for 71 yards, and the first 2 touchdowns of the season came in this game, and none of them bigger than both of those when he made them. Jabraxton Boone had 4 catches. Matt Mayfield, Cannon Cato, Martavius Boswell, and Karan Williams all with a catch, at least 1 catch apiece. So again, another game where Jalen just found a lot of receivers.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan played really well. He had some big catches on the last drive of the game, and Jamar J finally was able to get an actual true touchdown and not get it called back, and he's played well all year, and all those guys, they made plays for us, and we were able to spread it around a good bit.
And you look at Ty Jones. I know he came into this game a little beaten, banged up. He was 3 or 4 on extra points. He punted 6 times. He had an average of 41.8. 3 of those went inside the 20. Kickoffs were a little bit shaky for him. 5 of those, he averaged 50.8 yards and had 1 of those go out of bounds, unfortunately. And on the defensive side, the guys that we talked about all year, they really did a great job. Centario Willis had 12 tackles, led the team in that, and tackles for loss. Archie Chambers had 7. Daniel Watkins had 7. Bryce Hooker was 6. Jonathan Crane, Deshaun McGee, Tashawn Johnson, all with 4. So, again, guys that we talked about all year, filling up the stat sheet and doing the job you asked them to do.
Yeah, Centario had a big game. I remember really well right before halftime. He made a really good open field tackle, and they're one of their best players on their team, and basically kind of stalled the drive out. And but he played really good, as well as those other guys, and they were really good on offense, and they're huge up front, and they were able to do as well as they could, and they did everything we asked them to do.
Right, and you go and you look at the scoring summary and the play-by-play. Northwest got the opening possession of the game, and they took the kick, and they held the ball for 8 minutes. They scored on that opening possession, and it just kind of felt like the defense couldn't find a way to get off the field early. They had a 14-yard pass, and that made it 7-0. But there was really no panic in our guys. I know the first offensive possession really didn't go our way either. That one stalled out. But the good news was defense stood up. They got that drive to stall out. Then they gave the offense a chance, and you scored early in the second quarter. This was a drive that Jalen, I think, got knocked out on, couldn't finish the drive. But Eli comes in, finishes out the drive, keeps the team down the field, and I think the 10-yard run was maybe one of the most impressive plays of that whole drive. A play that kind of got broken a little bit. Eli was able to just get away from everybody, and was able to run it in there.
Yeah, I mean, he stepped right in, and I don't even think it was loose, but he came in and made some plays for us, and they ended up, I think they went cover 0, and they were all out blitzing us, and he made a guy miss, and when the one guy that's following the quarterback misses, there's normally no one else around it, and that's what happens. So.
Yeah, and then Northwest pretty responded late in that one, broke out a little bit of a trick play, 84-yard halfback pass. No one was with the receiver, made it 14-7. But the good news is your guys found a response, and were able to tie it up with Boswell's 3-yard touchdown run. It's 14-14. It kind of looks like Northwest may go down there and try to score again, but again, the defense stood up. You were able to just run out the clock. At halftime, the score is 14-14. What's the message to the guys knowing you got 2 more quarters, and it's probably going to be just as hard fought as these first 2 were?
Yeah, I just had to keep it up. Try to limit the mistakes, and keep battling. It was going to be a hard fought contest. We knew it was going to be 4 quarters, and and we just had to come out and fight every way we could to get every score we could and stop them every chance we had, and they played really well in the second half. So.
The good news is you came out in the second half, you got that opening possession, you marched the ball 8 plays, 67 yards in about 4 minutes, and you scored a touchdown to take the lead. This was Jamar J's first one. It was a little 2-yard pass, great little route by Jamar J as well too. Ty Jones makes this kick, makes it 21-14 with 10:45 left. Bad news is Northwest finds a way to tie it with midway through the third quarter. A 35-yard touchdown pass made it 21-21. The good and bad news for this one, Wolves find a way again to take the lead. This time Jamar J has a 35-yard pass from Jalen Petway, a ball that he went up and got. It was a really nice play by Jamar J. Really got up off the turf and got this one. However, the kick was missed, and you had a PAT attempt. They were called for offsides. We declined it, and then you missed that one and made it 27-21 with 1 minute and 38 seconds left. And, that lead held all the way up into the fourth quarter. You go into the fourth quarter, what's the message to the guys? Hey, and I know it's a 6-point lead. Defense, just come through and we'll find a way.
Yeah, I mean, we just, that's all it was. And you got to make a play for us, and we had to make plays on offense. And, the PAT that was declined, it was actually a pre-snap penalty, so it wasn't declined. And but it just had to come back. We had to make it, and he'd been battling some injuries all week, but we just had to go in the fourth quarter, had to make a play on either side of the ball.
And in the fourth quarter, Northwest was able to score with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. A little 10-yard pass. They were able to get the PAT, made it 28-27. But again, I think the good thing is, and what you like to see as a coach, there was no panic on your bunch. They just kept going. You had a really great drive. Jordan Richardson made 2 really good catches on the sideline, and then Jalen I think he saw him going down there, and he just kind of heaved it and said, Jordan's got to go get this one, and Jordan made a great play. And you got 15 seconds left, and you're from the 7-yard line. What's the approach going into those last final few plays?
I thought we had a chance to be able to, take a shot at the end zone, and and still have some time at the end to be able to kick a field goal at the end, and that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah. Well, the good news is I think if people go back and watch it, the play call was the right play call. I think you had the pass, you had the guy there. Unfortunately, Jalen just didn't get as much on the ball as he normally does. And Northwest linebacker, you also got to tip your cap to him. He made a great play, was able to get that pick and kind of sealed the game. And that's kind of it stings to lose that way. You don't want to lose on an interception, but I think you've got to say as a coach, our guys left everything out there on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I thought our guys played really well all year, and that same thing. And I hate it ended the way it did, but our guys, I'm extremely proud of our guys. They made a first year head coach look really good, and when it was really all them, and can't tip a hat to my assistant coaches. They did a heck of a job too. But like I said, I can't be more proud of them. We're going to have a bunch of guys that are going to have opportunities to sign 4-year schools in the next 3 weeks, and looking forward to seeing what they do with their future.
Yeah, and Coach, you kind of hinted on it right there, but I do want to ask, at the start of the year, if people would have walked up to you and said, "Hey, Micah, you're going to go 8-2, you're going to be South Division champions, Co-South Division champions, you're going to have the number 1 seed, and you're going to host a semifinal playoff game," how would you feel about that? I think you'd say, "Yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty good season."
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a really good season. I mean, again, those guys, they put me in a situation to be successful, but it was all of them. Those guys did really well, and they did exactly what we asked them to do. They fought, they scratched, it was a long fall camp, it was a long year, but that it doesn't surprise me. We'll have 35, 40 guys that'll sign this year, and we were good because of them.
Yeah, and don't want to say that we might get that bowl game, but there's always a chance that you can get that depending on rankings and those things as well too. So yeah, the season is over right now, but there may be a little extra football in our future like there was a couple of years ago. If that happens, of course, we'll tell people on social media. But now that you kind of have to turn the page a little bit, what's next? I know you're on the recruiting trail. I know you're talking to guys, and I know you're going to have visits when we come back from break. But what's the next steps look like for Co-Lin football?
We just got to replace a bunch of these guys. Recruiting. I mean, we got guys all they're all in the district right now, and then next week opens up, so we'll be hitting the road hot and heavy, and got the guys that are coming back. They're gonna be in the weight room for the next couple of weeks until Christmas break, and we got to be able to basically reload for next year and get ready for the 2026 season.
Well, Coach, let me be one of many that's congratulated you on a fantastic season again. Co-South Division champions, 8-2 overall record. And if there's a little more Co-Lin football this year, I don't think anybody will be upset by that. So lots of good happened for the Wolves this season. Don't let a 28-27 close loss against the number 4 ranked Rangers be the last thing that you remember about this team. They played really well all year. 2 losses by 3 points. You can't be upset about that. Look forward to next season. Look forward to what we will be able to tell you people about recruits when all that happens as well too. That'll wrap up our show this week. As a reminder, basketball will be playing this week as well too. At home for the Lady Wolves on Thursday against South Ark. On the road for the Wolves at Bevel State on Friday. Both of them will be at Southwest on Monday and Tuesday, 1 and 3 p.m. respectively. 1 for the ladies, 3 for the men on both those days as well too. I'm Kevin Kyzar, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.